Okay, hello and welcome to today's lecture for CS303 operating systems. As you can see from slide number 1, this is chapter number 6, lecture number 5. So once again, this is CS303 operating systems, chapter number 6 and lecture number 5. So if you recall, in the last lecture we were looking at classical synchronization problems, right? So we had established that we do need some kind of synchronization mechanism among multiple processes or threads trying to access common data, access and modify common data, right? So when it's just about reading data, then the problem is not there. Many processes may read, share data at the same time. There is no problem, but the issue comes in when writes are involved. So when a process or thread is writing to that data, and at the same time a context switch occurs while the writing is going on. Importantly, when the writing has not been finished, and then the control is given to another thread, and then they read. So that kind of a situation has to be avoided. So for that we had defined the critical section problem, and we had defined a solution, the central pillar of which was the mutual exclusion. So which means that at any point of time, how many processes or threads are allowed to be in their critical sections? One and only one at maximum, right? And there are other conditions like progress and bounded waiting and all that. But the central one, the key one, is the mutual exclusion. And then we discussed semaphores as a way to provide mutual exclusion. So they are essentially a shared variable, and one flavor in which they can be used is they can be used as locks, right? So which means that if you have a set of processes or threads which share common data and which can do reads and writes, then you have a lock between them, and then each process, before it enters its critical section, it tries to acquire a lock. So either the lock is available or it's not. If the lock is available, the process acquires it, and now importantly, and once it acquires a lock, then it enters its critical section and tries to write to the shared variable. Now importantly, when other processes or threads wish to enter their critical sections, they will check the value of lock and before to acquire it, and because the lock is not available, since the first process has it, they will all need to wait. So you can maintain a queue in which all of them are waiting, and then finally when the original process gets out of the critical section, goes into the remainder section, it will release the lock. Then one of the waiting processes can acquire that lock. So which one of them acquires a lock? That could be a scheduling decision, right? So this is one way in which they could be used, semaphores as locks. We can also have a counting semaphore, so that can also be used to provide synchronization, where the value of the semaphore integer is equal to the number of resources. So every time a process acquires a resource, it does a wait on a semaphore, and then the value for the available instances of that resource is decreased by 1. And whenever a process releases a resource, the value increases by 1. So importantly, when the number of resource instances reaches 0, then obviously all processes will have to wait till at least one of the processes which are holding the resource, they release. Okay, so as an example, we saw how to solve the producer-consumer problem using semaphores. So we use a lock for gaining access to the critical section, in which we modify a shared variable, let's say count. And besides the lock, we used two counting semaphores, full and empty, to control the synchronization, because if the buffer is full, then the producer has to wait till the consumer consumes at least one item. So it will wait on that semaphore and then when the consumer consumes an item, then the value will be non-zero, and then producer can enter. And likewise, when the buffer is empty, the producer has to wait. When the buffer is empty, then the consumer has to wait. So buffer full, producer waits. Buffer empty, consumer waits. And then as long as as soon as the producer puts at least one item, then the value of the semaphore changes, and now the consumer can enter its critical section. So using those three semaphores, we solved that problem. So now we'll try to look at some more problems and use semaphores to solve them. Okay. Okay, so now I am on slide number 2, and now we discuss our another synchronization problem. This is the readers writers problem. So this is definitely very common. Reads and writes are extremely common operations, and the issue here is that we have a set of processes or threads, and each process is either a reader or a writer process. Okay, so the formulation is very simple: readers read, writers write. Right. So just to sort of motivate the discussion, let's say we have a database that is shared among several processes that can execute concurrently. So shared database on which multiple processes may try to access concurrently at the same time. So we have readers and writers. Readers only read from the database. They only read the data set. They do not perform any updates. So for example, find the CGPA of a student with ID 2020 CSB 1010. So here what you have to do is the student ID is given, the entry number is given, and with that as the key. So the way the data is arranged in the database is sort of as a table. Each row corresponds to the record of a particular student, and each column corresponds to one of the attributes of the student. For example, entry number, first name, last name, CGPA, hometown, branch, right, number of credits done, number of credits remaining, and so on, expected graduation date, right, so on. So what will happen is there will be a query, and that query the CGPA of that student will be given. So what the process will need to do is look at the database one row at a time, and then see which of those rows matches the student ID. So for the row which matches the student ID, let's say 2020 CSB 1010. Now once it gets that row, once there is a match for that row, then it can print all the column values. Okay, and in this particular query, it only needs to print the CGPA. So that will be printed. So essentially search of the database and then find the appropriate row or rows and then print whatever values are needed. Right. Now other kind of processes are writers. So these can also exist. So these, as the name suggests, they can make edits to the database. So for example, let's say CGPA has, a semester has passed, elapsed, and the student has done really well, and their CGPA increases from 8 to 9. So then the writer process has to locate the row for that student, just like a reader had to. And then once the row is located, it has to go to the CGPA column, and then it has to change its value from 8 to 9. Right? So you have readers and writers. Right? So as far as reads are concerned, generally concurrent access is okay with them. So if two or more readers access the shared data at the same time, it's okay. Right? So one reader is looking at a particular row, printing the name. Another is looking at that same row and printing the CGPA. That's fine. So multiple reads are okay. We can see there is no synchronization problem there, right? Because essentially that shared data is not changing, right? That's why it will be the same, no matter who reads it, and no matter when they read it. Problem is when we have writes allowed, when writes happen. So if a writer is making changes to the shared data and the reader or writer accesses the data at the same time to do either the read or write, then obviously we have a problem. Right? In the shared printer example we did in the beginning of the chapter, we had two processes that wanted to print. So both of them needed to write the file name to the shared buffer. So both were writers. So this kind of a situation we need to avoid. If a writer is writing, we need to block other readers or writers till the writer has finished writing. So definitely we need to, it's agreed that we need to synchronize how the various processes can access the shared data. So what sort of makes sense is if a writer is writing data, then while that writing process is going on, we should block other readers or writers from trying to access that data. Right? So this seems to be like a fair policy. So as it says specifically, we need to ensure that writers have exclusive access to the shared data while they are writing to it. Right? Readers, for example, readers should not be able to read while the writer is writing. And the writer should definitely not be able to write while another writer is writing. Okay, so I think this part is clear. Okay. Okay, so now we are on slide 3 and we will now discuss this readers writers problem in more detail. So naturally now when we have two classes of processes, one question comes, which one of them will get a higher priority? So if at a particular point of time you have a reader and a writer process both ready to read or write, who gets a higher priority? Right? Likewise, if you have a set of readers, among those readers who gets the highest priority? So it's definitely priorities involved, right? So because of this, because you can have various kinds of priorities, therefore there are many versions or variations or flavors to the readers writers problem. So obviously in one flavor readers have more priority versus writers, and in the other it's the opposite, writers have more priority over the readers. So which one you go for depends on the system designer. Okay. Oh, they can pick either one. So variation 1 is that states that no reader be kept waiting. Okay. No reader be kept waiting unless a writer has already obtained permission to use the shared data. So which means if you have a queue in which, so right now let's say at time t, no process has obtained the lock or the permission to enter the critical section, and you have a bunch of readers and writers, then the readers will get higher priority. Okay. So the only scenario in which reader processes have to wait in this version is if a writer has already obtained the lock. So if the lock is already obtained, we don't preempt. Right? We don't preempt. So if a writer has already obtained the lock, then the reader will, or all readers that wish to enter the critical section, they will have to wait. Yeah. So therefore readers have, in general, readers have the higher priority here. There is only one special case in which the reader does not have the higher priority, and that special case is if a writer process has already obtained the lock. Okay. So that's variation 1. Variation 2, once a writer is ready, it performs its write as soon as possible. That's fine. If a writer is waiting to access the shared data, no new readers may start reading. So variation 2, obviously, as you can guess, is the opposite. So there, given a choice, writers have higher priority. So if you have a bunch of readers and writers waiting in the queue to access a resource, then the writers get a first shot at trying to get the lock. Of course, if a reader already has a lock in variation 2, then the writers will have to wait. So in general, what the solution we'll discuss is for the first version, in which the readers have a higher priority. Okay, so we'll discuss a solution to the first version of the problem, in which the readers have the highest priority, except for the case when a writer has already obtained the lock. In that case, the reader will have to wait. Okay, so let's discuss the solution to this. And this solution, just like the producer consumer one, will also use semaphores. Okay, so you can see already we will need a lock, right, to enter the critical section. What other semaphores we require? Let's see. Okay. Okay, so now I am on slide 4, and now we start discussing the semaphores that we will use. Okay. So as such, we will be using 3 different semaphores. Okay. So let us talk about them. Well, it looks like well, not 3. There will be 2 semaphores. Third is a shared variable. So let us look at them. Semaphore mutex, mutual exclusion, initialized to 1, shared among all the readers. Okay. So we do recognize that the readers also need protection from one another, and the reason for that is because here we have a variable, shared variable read count, okay, which is going to be incremented and decremented. Okay, so the way this solution has been set up is, each reader, what it does is, once it starts executing, it will increase the number of readers to 1, because one more reader is reading, and then once it's done with the read, it will reduce the value of read count to 1. Because let's say we want information regarding how many processes are concurrently reading. So this can be useful. Let's say you have a IRCTC website or any airline reservation website, and you would like to find out for records purposes at any point of time or within a time period how many users are accessing the database. So it sort of tells you how well you're doing, right? If in a particular hour 50,000 users are accessing the database to look for trains or flight, it means you're doing well. If there's only 100, means you're not doing so well. So it's a practical thing. We want to know at any given point of time how many readers are reading. So because of that, we have a variable called read count. So each reader will while it's executing, change the value for this read count. So when it starts executing, the reader will increase the read count by 1, because there's one more reader, and then while it has finished executing, it will reduce the value of read count by 1. So now note that this is a shared variable, so you may have concurrent execution. So you may have multiple readers trying to execute at the same time, and therefore multiple readers trying to modify the value of read count at the same time. So here is where you need the protection. So we will use this mutex lock for that. This mutex lock is shared among all the readers, and a reader has to acquire this lock before it modifies the value of read count. So whether it increases the value by 1 of read count or whether it reduces the value of read count by 1, a reader has to acquire a lock before it can do that. Okay. And then we have another semaphore, read write underscore mutex, initialized to 1 again, and this one is shared among readers and writers both. So both processes can be in at the same time. So this is shared by both readers and writers, right? So we can easily see why we need this lock, why we need synchronization among the readers and writers. because if a writer is writing, all readers have to wait. Right? If a reader is reading, then the writer has to wait. So they have to wait on each other and they acquire a lock. And your read count initialized to 0, how many processes are currently reading the object. So common variable shared among all readers. So we have two locks, mutex shared among all readers, right? When it's making a change to the shared variable read count. And then we have read write mutex shared among all readers and writers, and this will be acquired when the actual read and write operation is being performed. Right? So if a reader is reading, a writer cannot write. Right? So the reader will acquire the lock and then it will enter its critical section, it will read, and then the writer will have to wait. So we need synchronization among readers and writers also. That similarly, if a writer is writing, a reader has to wait. Right? Okay, so mutex lock is used to ensure mutual exclusion among all readers accessing the shared data while read count is being updated. Plus plus or minus minus. So we discussed that. Only one reader may make those changes at a time to read count. That we also accept. And the reader acquires a lock before updating read count and releases the lock after the update. That's alright too. RW underscore mutex lock is used for mutual exclusion among readers and writers. If a writer is writing, the readers need to wait till lock is released. Okay. So now if a writer is writing, you may have many readers in the queue and you have many writers in the queue also. The way this algorithm works is, once the writer is done, priority is given to the readers, not to the writers. And that's and if a reader is reading, a writer of course needs to wait till the lock is released. Now if a reader is reading and there are multiple processes waiting, some readers, some writers, then definitely the preference will be given to the readers. Okay. If there's only one reader, only one writer, then of course if a reader is waiting, if a reader is reading, then the writer waits and then it gets access. Okay. Read count variable keeps track of how many readers are reading the shared data. Okay, now I am on slide 5, and now we look at the code for the the writer process. Okay. So definitely we recognize that before. So the writing part is in the critical section of the writer process, and before a writer can write, it needs to acquire a lock, definitely. If the lock is not available, right, if the lock is not available, then obviously it has to wait till the lock is released. Okay. So this is the code. Wait on read write mutex. So read write mutex is a lock, the semaphore, binary semaphore, which is initialized to 1. So the writer comes and tries tests for the lock. It does a wait. So for each semaphore, wait and signal. What wait will do is if the value of the semaphore is 0, it just waits in the while. Otherwise it enters and reduces the value of semaphore by 1. Signal increases the value of the semaphore by 1. So if the writer is the first, so two scenarios, if a writer is the first process to arrive, it will wait on read write mutex. Read write mutex is initialized to 1, so it will be reduced by 1, and now the value of the lock is 0, the lock is acquired. Now any other process that comes will have to wait for the lock to be released. And when will this lock be released? When this writer does a signal of read write mutex. Okay. So the code for this is very simple. Wait on read write mutex. Wait as a lock has to be acquired. Wait as a lock has already been acquired by some other process, right? Otherwise, acquire the lock, do the writing and release the lock. So if the value of read write mutex is 1, lock is acquired by this writer. It does the write and then releases the lock. If the read write mutex lock is not available, which means if it's been acquired by some other process, then obviously this will have to wait. And then when that process does a signal on read write mutex, then this can get in. So I think the code for this is quite simple. It's for the writer process. Okay. So later on we'll put both of these side by side and we will discuss it a bit more. Okay. Okay. Now I am on slide 6. And now we look at the code for the reader. So we saw that the code for the writer was very simple. The writer, before it can write or enter its critical section, it just needs to test for the read write underscore mutex lock. So if the lock is available, it acquires it and enters its critical section. Now importantly, if other readers or writers wish to enter the critical sections, while this first writer is inside its critical section, then obviously they have to wait. And only when this reader, the first writer, releases the lock, then the others can get in. So now we look at the reader, and looking at this code, you will see that there is one variable which is shared among all readers called read count. So initially, what the reader is doing is, before it can do the reading job, it increases the value of read count by 1, read count plus plus, and then later on, after the reading is performed, it does read count minus minus. So this is clear. Now in order to protect this read count, we have a wait mutex and signal mutex. So you will see wait mutex and then read count plus plus and then signal mutex. And likewise below you will see wait mutex, read count minus minus and then signal mutex. So what the mutex is doing is ensuring that at any point of time, how many readers can modify the read count variable? Maximum 1. So which means that if a particular reader is modifying the read count variable, the other readers have to wait. So modifying means it could be either plus plus or minus minus. During its lifetime, a reader will do plus plus followed by minus minus. So we know it's a shared variable, so we have to protect it. Right, just like we had the count variable in the producer consumer. So we have to protect this, and that this is read count is protected using the mutex. Right. So first thing it does is it waits on the mutex lock, which means it's asking the question, is any other reader updating read count? If it is, it waits right there. And below also it asks the same question before it subtracts read count. Again doing a wait to mutex. Is any other reader updating read count? Okay. So if the lock is available, it acquires it. It changes the value of read count either plus plus or minus minus, and then it will release the lock. Okay. Now what else? If you think about this problem, among reader and writers, who gets a higher priority? It's the readers. So which means that unless you have a special case in which a writer has already acquired the lock, otherwise readers have absolute priority. Okay. So which means if we have a set of readers coming in, right, one after the other, then the first reader in that set will acquire the lock if available, because note that a writer may be writing, right? So if available, the first reader in the chain of readers acquires the lock, and which reader releases the lock? The last reader will release the lock. Okay. So which means that if a reader has acquired the lock, and then if you have a bunch of readers, and then if any writer comes or if any writers come, they have to wait till the last reader releases the lock. Till then, all the other writers have to wait. Okay. So the last reader will release the lock, and then the writer can acquire it and then do its writing. So which makes sense, because as such, if we have a set of processes waiting, some readers, some writers, then readers will have a higher priority. So if read count is 1, do a test on the shared read-write lock. So read-write mutex is shared among all readers and writers. So the first reader will wait to acquire the lock. It's probable the lock is not available because you have a writer already writing. So then it waits on read-write mutex, and once the writer writes, it will do signal read-write mutex, and now the first writer will acquire the lock. Then perform reading, and then for all subsequent readers, if they will of course have to acquire mutex, but will all subsequent readers have to acquire read-write mutex? No, because if read count is 1, only then you have to wait on read-write mutex. For the second, third and fourth readers, if read count equal to 1 is false, so they don't need to wait on read-write mutex, and they can immediately go to read one after the other. Of course, all those readers will have to acquire the lock before they can modify the value of read count, but they don't have to acquire the lock for actually performing the reading operation. And then lower we see if read count is equal to 0, no more readers left, then release the lock for writer only after all readers are done. So in this way we can synchronize both readers and writers. So in the next slide we'll see some scenarios, and then we'll go through this code and see if it works for all of those scenarios. So what will happen in each scenario is just because we don't know, the whole process is dynamic, so we don't know in what order the readers and writers will come. Okay. So but in a nutshell, this is what the code is. Before modifying the read count shared variable, a lock has to be acquired, the mutex lock. Once to increase read count, once to reduce read count, and also the read-write mutex has to be acquired, right, by the reader, acquired by the first reader and released by the last reader. So of course you may not have a chain, you may have only one reader. So in that case what happens is, if you have only one reader, read count is 1, so you wait on that, you acquire the lock, and now if a writer comes, it has to wait for this read-write mutex, and this first reader will read, and then once it reads, it will do read count minus minus. So since this is the only reader, no chain, read count will be 1, it will release the lock and the writer can get in. So this is the code, and now let's look at both of these side by side and see some scenarios. Okay. Okay, now I am on slide 7, and here we have the readers and both the reader and writer process. Just give me 1 second. So here we have both the reader and writer process side by side, and then we have written some scenarios which define the order in which the processes can arrive. Because the order is totally dynamic, we don't know. We may have no process, we may have only one reader, we may have only one writer, we may have readers coming in a chain, writers coming in a chain, and we can have any kind of combination. So the main thing over here is, no matter what the combination, no matter what is the order of arrival of the readers and writer process is, synchronization has to be there. Of course, note that one of the solution was one of the parts of the solution was bounded waiting, right, and progress. So here that part may not be that strong because we are giving a higher priority to readers, so writers may starve. Okay. So that we know anyway is the danger of choosing any kind of priority scheme. Always the side effect is that the processes with low priority may get starve. You may have starvation. Okay. So we can make changes to this so that the starvation is not there. But for this particular solution, we just focus on the mutual exclusion part. Okay. So for here we just focus on the mutual exclusion part. Okay. So now, one scenario, only one reader, nothing else, only one reader. So what happens, it waits on the mutex, it acquires it, increases read count, it's 1. If read count is 1, it tries to acquire the read write lock also, correct? That is, and it gets that as well. And then it releases the mutex because it's done read plus plus. Then it reads. Then now it needs to do read count minus. So it acquires the lock which is available. It just released it. And now read count is 0. So that releases the read write lock as well. And then it releases the mutex lock and it's done. So single reader will work. Single writer waits on read write mutex. Read write mutex lock is available, acquires it, does the writing, releases that lock. No problem. So now let's say reader writer. Two processes, reader writer or writer reader. Scenario 2. So let's say reader writer first. So first reader comes, it acquires mutex, does read count plus plus. Read count is 1, so then it tries to acquire read write mutex also, which is available. And then it releases a mutex, right? Now, during this time, once it's acquired the read write lock, if the writer comes in, it will have to wait on read write mutex. Note that. Okay. So the writer will have to wait if it's acquired the lock. Okay. If that is not the case, because we cannot make any assumption on the speed of at which these processes run. If the reader has not acquired the lock and the writer acquires it earlier, then the reader will wait on wait read write mutex. Okay. And as soon as the writer releases it, it can carry on. Okay. So then it does the reading, right? Acquires the lock, and assuming the writer is waiting on wait read write mutex, it does the reading and does read count minus with a lock, of course. If read count is 0, yes it is. It does a signal on read write mutex, and then the waiting writer can continue, right? So it will work fine. Writer reader. So let's say writer comes first. Writer immediately acquires a lock. Reader does a wait on mutex, does read count 1, and read count is equal to 1, so it will wait on read write mutex. The reader will. And as soon as the writer releases it by doing signal read write mutex, the writer can move on. Okay. So once again we look at it. Let's say we have read write, right? So first the reader comes, and then the writer. So reader increases read count, and then acquires the read write mutex lock, right? And then the writer waits on that read write mutex, and then the reader releases it at the end, signal read write mutex, and now the writer can start. Okay. Other scenario, writer comes in. So writer comes in, acquires a lock, reader does read count plus plus, and since it's the first reader, it waits on read write mutex. Now when the writer releases the lock, the reader can acquire it. Okay, the reader can acquire it. Right, it's available, and then it can enter its critical section, right, and that will work fine. Okay. Now what about the third scenario? So remember that if the writer has acquired the lock, read write lock, the reader has to wait for it, and if the reader has acquired the lock, the writer has to wait for it. Okay. Now looking at third scenario, bunch of reads followed by a write. So now what happens is first reader. So of course you have a bunch of readers. So first reader acquires a lock, mutex lock, and now if any other reader comes, it will do a test on the lock by doing wait mutex, and because the lock is acquired by the first reader, all other readers will wait. So let's say if all 4 readers come very quickly, the first reader will acquire the lock, and the second, third and fourth readers, they will all wait on mutex. And then depending on the scheduling algorithm, you can give it to one of those when the first reader releases the lock. Okay, so if you have bunch of readers and the first reader will acquire the lock, mutex lock, and then only when it releases can the others acquire. So first reader, once it does read count plus plus, then it will release the mutex lock, and then let's say second reader acquires it, and now this first reader will again have to wait to acquire the lock before it can do read count minus minus. Right. So you can have a scenario. Let's say first reader acquires a lock. It does a read count plus plus. Now read count is 1, and now second, third, and fourth readers come in. They also do that part. Only one at a time, and now the read count value is 4. Now all 4 readers, they have to do minus minus, and eventually they do it one at a time, and then from 4 we get 3, then 2, then 1, then 0. Of course this is one order, other orders can also be possible. Right? It can go from 0 to 1, 1 to 2, then from 2 to 1, 1 to 0, or it can go from 0 to 1, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 2. So many, depending on the order of arrival and order of execution, the value of read count can change in many configurations. But the main thing over here is the protection is provided. While any reader is changing the value of read count, other readers have to wait. So that ensures the protection and synchronization. Okay. So that's for mutex, and the first reader will also acquire the read write mutex lock. Right. Now if any other writers come, they have to wait. And so let's say first reader acquires the read write mutex lock. Correct. And now if the second reader comes in, if read count equal to 1 is false, then it just goes on reading. Now if the third reader comes in quickly, read count is again not 1, it's 3 in fact now. So that reader can also do the reading without the lock. So subsequent readers which come one after the other, the if read count equal to 1 for them is false, so there is no lock for the second, third and fourth reader to acquire. So here we are talking about, note that read write underscore mutex lock. Second, third, fourth reader still have to acquire the mutex lock. So but the read write mutex lock only the first reader acquires. Second, third and fourth readers, they don't acquire that lock. They can just go on directly to read. Right? And for the second, third and fourth readers, the read count is equal to 0 will also not be true. Now the last reader, whichever one it is, that is the one that will release the lock for any other waiting process. So what we are saying is, the first reader acquires the read write lock. Subsequent readers don't need to acquire the read write lock, they can directly read, no problem with that. And the last reader releases the read write lock, which can be acquired by other processes that may have been waiting. So in this third scenario, RRRW, first reader acquires the read write mutex. Now if then the second reader comes, no lock to acquire. Third reader comes, no lock to acquire. Fourth comes, no lock to acquire. And then the last reader will release the lock for the writer. Of course, it's also possible that bunch of readers come in and then the writer. So in this, as we had discussed for the problem, precedence or importance is given to the readers. So only when the last reader releases the lock can the writer acquire it. It will have to wait till that time. So what will happen is all these readers, they will quickly come and read, without acquiring the read write mutex lock. All except the first readers, they will quickly come, they will quickly read, and then the last reader will release the lock, and then the writer can acquire it. So third scenario is also satisfied. Fourth scenario, one writer followed by many readers. So then the first writer obviously acquires a lock. All other readers have to wait on it. So first writer will acquire the lock, and now if you have a bunch of readers coming in, let's say very quickly, right? All of them will have to will be waiting on the read write mutex. First reader, second reader, third reader, fourth reader, fifth reader, sixth reader, and seventh reader. So 7 readers will all be waiting at their RW mutex. Now when the writer releases it, then one of those readers can acquire. Which one? You can decide based on the scheduling algorithm. So let's say all of them queue, and then the writer releases it, and then the first reader gets it. So now writer is gone. Now I have all readers. So first reader gets the read write mutex lock. It acquires it, and now the rest of the readers, they don't need to acquire the RW mutex lock. And then as before, the last reader will release the RW mutex lock. So this one works well as well. Read write. So definitely first reader will acquire the lock, or this or first R will acquire the lock. Second, so the first writer has to wait, and when this reader releases the lock, then the writer can get in. Now when the reader comes, it has to wait for the first writer, and when first writer releases the read write mutex lock, the second reader acquires it, and then the second writer has to wait till the previous reader releases the lock. So you can see this should work well. First reader comes in. So note here we are only talking about the read write mutex lock. The mutex will work fine, no problem. So first reader comes in, does a mutex, wait, acquires the mutex lock, does read count plus read count is 1. So now it does a wait on the read write mutex, it acquires that as well. It releases the mutex lock, does the reading, right? Now the first writer that comes waits on this read write mutex, right? And then it again acquires mutex second time. The reader does read count minus. Now read count is 0. Now it releases the lock which the first writer can grab. And now if the other reader comes in, it does a wait on read write mutex. Now read count is again 1. It acquires mutex, does read count 1, and now the first writer has it, first W. So now this second reader will wait on read write mutex, and then once the writer releases it, then it will move on and do the reading. Okay, and now again read count will be 0, and then it will release it, and then second W will catch it. Similarly, WR will also be handled. First writer acquires a lock, and then first reader comes, it waits on the lock, then writer releases, read gets, first reader gets, and then first reader releases, second writer gets, second writer releases, second reader gets. So this will also work fine. Last one, bunch of writers followed by a reader, followed by writer. Right, so what happens? First reader acquires a lock, and now it depends on how things are going. First writer acquires, does writing, releases. Second writer acquires, does writing, releases. Third acquires, releases. Fourth acquires, releases. And then reader acquires, releases. And then writer acquires, releases. If it's sequential, no problem. If it's concurrent, then let's see what happens. First writer acquires read write mutex. Now while it has a lock, a bunch of other writers come in. All three will wait on read write mutex, definitely. And now quickly the reader comes, that also waits on the read write mutex. And now when the writer comes, it also waits on the read write mutex. So all are waiting on their read write mutex, whether writer or reader. And now when the first writer releases it, right, then you can make a call, right? that which you are going to give it. So as such, it may be a good idea to give it to the reader. Okay. So if we have a queue in which readers are waiting and writers are waiting, then we should give it to the reader. Okay. So you can then accordingly you can schedule it. Okay. Okay. So I hope these are clear. So you should convince yourself that all of these options work. Okay. Okay, now I am on slide 8. So one thing you will note here is when we are talking about these reader-writer synchronization or any other synchronization problem, the scheduling issue still remains. Because what happens is, you have one lock, right? You have one lock and you have many processes or threads that want to acquire that lock, right? So one lock, many threads or processes that wish to acquire that lock. So at any point of time, only one can, right? So what if particular process or thread acquires a lock, and now quickly many processes or threads want to acquire that same lock. So obviously they will be waiting. When they do a wait, since the lock is already acquired, the value for that semaphore will be 0, mutex will be 0, and all of them will wait. In other words, they will be queued. They will be in a queue. So now the question is, when the lock is released, when the initial process that got the lock, now when it wishes to release the lock, who should be the next one to acquire that lock, because many processes are waiting on the wait mutex. So which process acquires the lock? So that is a scheduling decision that has to be made. Perhaps you can go with a FCFS, the first process that when a process starts waiting, or when a process tests for the semaphore and it sees that the semaphore lock is already taken, you note that time, do a timestamp, and then like that, whenever a process tests for the semaphore, you do a timestamp, and then when the original process releases the lock or semaphore, you see whichever one has a smallest value of timestamp, earliest value of timestamp. So you can do a first come first serve, or you can do priority based, right? So you do need a scheduling decision, and using that you will say that among all of these processes which are waiting on their waiting on the mutex, this process runs, and then this, and then this, and then this. So that is required. So we note that this will exist in readers-writers problem as well. So whatever bunch of readers quickly arrive, right, one after the other. So first reader will acquire the mutex, and now before it can release the mutex, many other readers quickly arrive, right, 4, 5, 6, whatever. Now all of them will of course be waiting on the mutex. They will all execute wait mutex, since mutex is 0, because the log is acquired by the first reader, right? So mutex is 0, and all of these processes will be waiting at the first statement itself, wait on mutex, right? That while mutex value is 0, keep on waiting, right? So all of those will wait, and then eventually the first reader will release the lock. So now the question is, which among these waiting processes will the lock be given to? Right? So again, scheduling decision. Also we see it in the second configuration also. Bunch of readers come in. Now if this is sequential, not a problem. First reader acquires the log, releases it. Second acquires, releases. Third acquires, releases. Fourth acquires, releases. Fifth writer also acquires, releases. Then first reader acquires and releases, and last writer acquires and releases. Sequentially there is no problem, but when you have concurrent execution, then you have an issue. So let's say the first writer, it acquires a lock, and now suddenly you have 1, 2, 3, 4 writers coming in, followed quickly by reader, followed quickly by writer. All of them will be queued into a wait read write mutex. So now when the first writer releases it, the read write mutex lock, which of these will get the lock? Again, a scheduling decision. And the way that we have this variation of the problem is, we should give it to the reader, and then to all the writers, maybe in a first come first serve basis. If we had multiple readers and multiple writers all waiting, then higher priorities for the readers, and among the readers we can go first come first serve, and then writers again first come first serve. So point is that you may have, depending on how the processes arrive, you may have multiple processes waiting on the mutex. Now when the mutex is released, which one gets the gets the lock, gets the mutex, that is a scheduling decision. Okay, I hope it's clear.